All right, today we're jumping into a really interesting and, yeah, pretty controversial text all about what it calls digital seduction. Now, our goal here isn't to endorse this stuff, but to just break down its core arguments piece by piece so we can understand the philosophy behind it. So let's get right into it.
Okay, so this one sentence, this is basically the entire thesis. It's the absolute foundation for everything else we're about to talk about. The whole strategy is built on this single idea: perception trumps reality. What someone believes about you is way more powerful than what's actually true.
So here's how we're going to break this all down. We're going to look at 4 big ideas from the text. First, the perception premise. Then, this concept of your social media as a personal commercial. After that, we'll get into how to project status. And finally, we'll tackle what the author calls the seduction contradiction.
All right, first stop, the perception premise. The core argument here, according to this text, is that in the online world, it's not about who you are, it's about who you seem to be. Authenticity, it suggests, kind of takes a back seat to a really well-crafted projection of yourself.
Now, this is where the language gets really specific. The source actually uses the word prejudiced to argue that women make snap judgments based on a kind of pre-existing bias. So the strategy isn't about changing who you are deep down, but about controlling the information she sees to shape that first impression.
And to explain this supposed bias, the text brings up a key term, pre-selection. Think of it like this. You see a restaurant with a huge line out the door. What's your first thought? Wow, that place must be good, right? The text argues the same principle applies here. A man who seems desired by others becomes more desirable himself.
So to back this idea up, the source points to a couple of things you might have even noticed in real life. It claims that guys in relationships often get way more attention from other women. The logic is that having a partner is basically a stamp of approval. It's social proof that you've been vetted and are a good choice.
Okay, so if it's all about perception, then where do you actually build that perception? Well, that takes us to our second big idea, your social media commercial. The argument is that your profile shouldn't be a diary, it should be your own personal Super Bowl ad.
The text makes this really sharp distinction between who you really are and your online character. You know, your real self is complicated, has good days and bad days. That's hard to sell quickly. Your public persona, though, that's got to be simple, polished, and super easy for someone to get in about 5 seconds.
And this quote just nails the whole idea. The author literally compares your social media to a fast food ad. You know how the burger in the commercial looks absolutely perfect, juicy, and amazing, but then the one you actually get is kind of squished and sad? That's the mindset it's pushing for your online presence. It's about showing the idealized version.
And then the argument goes a step further. It claims that women already get this, that they instinctively use their profiles as a marketing tool to build up their own status. So the advice for men is basically to get on the same page and start treating your social media like a strategic campaign.
All right, so if your social media is a commercial, what's the product? What are you supposed to be advertising? That leads us straight into part 3, projecting status and power. This is all about what you communicate, usually without saying it directly.
The number one goal of this whole commercial, according to the source, is to communicate that you're high up on the social ladder. The entire vibe you want to create is one where interacting with you feels like an opportunity for her. Essentially, you become the prize to be won. And the text gets super specific about how to do this. It's all about show, don't tell. Don't look needy. Post things that show you're ambitious, focused on your goals. Imply you have a full life and lots of options. The source even gets as detailed as suggesting things like posting photos from a boxing gym, arguing it sends this subconscious signal that you're a protector.
So why all this focus on future potential? This quote is supposed to explain the psychology behind it all. The argument is that women are investing in where a man is going. So your commercial isn't just about who you are today, it's a trailer for your awesome future, a future she'll want to be a part of. Okay, this brings us to the grand finale. The part the author calls the magic of the whole method, the seduction contradiction. This is where everything we've talked about is supposed to come together and solve what's presented as this huge fundamental problem. So here's the big puzzle. The text claims that if you actively chase someone or seem too interested, you come off as needy, and that's unattractive. It lowers your status. But someone has to make the first move, right? So the question is, how do you pursue someone without looking like you're the one doing all the pursuing? And this is how the text breaks down that paradox. It boils it down to these 3 questions. You can see the pattern, right? How do I do the action, but make her feel like it was her idea? The goal is basically to be the chess player, but make your opponent think they're the one making all the brilliant moves.
And this quote right here, this is the end game. This is the desired outcome. It's all about mastering that indirect influence so that her feeling of being in control is actually part of your plan all along. It's the checkmate moment of the strategy.
And that's where we'll leave it, with the central puzzle this whole philosophy tries to solve. The solution it offers is a strategy built entirely on managing perception. And it really makes you think, doesn't it? Is modern attraction less about who you really are and more about how good you are at creating your own commercial?